And welcome to the Gaslec podcast. This is episode 64, and thank you very much indeed for listening and for watching. This week's episode, I'll be going through some of the AC side of stuff that we do here at Gaslec. And there are a few different things that, if you're not into air conditioning on the Imperial system that they run onto there, I'm going to be showing through some of the stuff that we do, the different types of copper pipe. They use a soft copper, how we do sort of joints, we do the swaging of the joints and how we do that, and how we terminate it to the evaporator and to the compressor as well. But first of all, here's my friend Sean to tell you a bit more about the podcast. Are you a new person coming into plumbing and heating? Are you a homeowner that likes a bit of DIY? Or are you a business owner and wanted a bit more knowledge before you make some decisions on your plumbing and heating? Stay tuned to the podcast and hopefully we'll be able to help you out with some of your questions. And welcome back to the podcast, and thank you very much indeed for listening and for watching on Spotify and on our YouTube channel as well. So I'm going to be going through some of the air conditioning pipe work that's a little bit different to our water and our gas system that you may be used to if you're new into the industry or you've done a bit of DIY as well. But I just want to show you the difference between the two. So typically you're running in Imperial pipework, so your 1/4, 5/16, 3/8, which are very common in the air conditioning system. Certainly on the smaller stuff, it will go into halves and sort of 3/4 and stuff like that, and all those sort of odd numbers that we're not really used to here. I don't know if it's a bit of a leftover from the Americans, because obviously they still use it and it's very big in America and it's very big in India as well. So if you look on the Facebook groups, they're all India. We worry about letting a tiny bit of refrigerant out here, and there's loads of videos of them just cutting the pipes and just letting the whole thing dump to atmosphere. But we need to do what we need to do, I suppose. So whenever we've got, I've got a couple of little offcuts of copper pipe here from downstairs. So this is a 3/8 pipe. So as you can see there, I've cut it off. Well, it might be difficult, and it's got a bit of I'll cut it off with a rotary cutter, and that puts a bit of a taper onto the fitting. So now we're going to flare this out, ready to go into the evaporator or the condenser, which is like a compression fitting. And we don't use any paste with those at all, or any jointing methods. It's just friction of the system. So we need to deburr it, and we need to sort of basically square up the inside of the copper pipe. So it's difficult to see, but that taper's now been taken off, and that's nice and square as it comes through. So we have this little flaring tool here, so we then slide that up into the correct hole this time. There we are. And we want to get that best part level as it's coming through there, so we want to get that just where it needs to be, and then we slide up our tool. And so basically what this does, and then we slide that up, so that becomes up and it goes nice and square to the pipe. Then we just clamp this in, and so what we have on here as we turn this is basically there's like a spike inside. And what that will do is that will go inside the pipe and start creating the flare. Now this tool here it's quite expensive, but it's got a clutch on it. So what happens is when it gets tight enough, it will then click out. And so then we know. So it's as it comes across, and there he is. There was the click. So I bring that past, and that's now done. Now the biggest problem is you've got to put the nut on first. If you don't put the nut on, you've now flared the pipe and you can't slide the nut, because obviously you can't slide it from the other end because it's all done and dusted. So then slide that off. And so now what we do have here is, I'll get that opened. We now have this flared fitting, as we can see that there. And then now the nut comes down, and then it's got a tapered fitting that goes onto, and that pulls up a tree. And that's then what creates, because this is a soft copper, this then creates the joint that goes onto the outdoor unit or the indoor unit and goes from there. So that's just like a flare fitting. Some people call them banjos. I think it might look like the end of a sort of banjo, sort of trombone sort of end, trumpet. But yeah, so that's then how sort of we stretch and make that end out to there. So if we need to do because this is soft copper, if we need to do a linear joint, so one thing we can't do is we don't use flux because we need to solder at such a high temperature called brazing. So what we'll do is, and I've already got it set up here, we've got this, so that there won't go in because that has not been flared out. That's not been reamed out. So that's a bit on the tight side. So what we need to do, once again, with our pipe reamer, is we just give that a little bit of a go. So that's now squared up a treat. So now that, pull that out, goes in. See how wiggly that is? So just taking that out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create, some people call it like a swage fitting. So basically it's going to stretch the pipe the exact size that it needs to be. Put this down without too much racket. Now what you can see onto that, we've got a fitting. And so then we then get our pipe, which is our next size of the same pipe, and then we just push that in. It's a bit on the tight side because, there we are. And that's then our linear joint, excuse me, that's now a linear joint. Now I can't do it, we have smoke alarm systems, but now we heat this up with no flux because it gets too hot. And we'll heat this up to about 500 degrees. It's greater than 450. And then we bring in like a silver solder, some people call it, and basically it's called brazing. But as we braze this in, because there is so much heat that's being produced and with the material, it will actually leave like a black soot inside as it's been left over. And that black soot inside, because it's reacted with the oxygen inside the pipe, now that will go through and start damaging components of the air conditioning system. So what we need to do is put nitrogen through, just a trickle, and we pass nitrogen through the pipework, and what that does is that stops that reaction and that black sooty stuff starting to form on the inside. It gives you a nice clean pipe. So we have nitrogen that we put through, which is an inert gas. Obviously it's 78% abundant in our atmosphere that we're breathing in every single day. So we just pass that through. And so that's then how we then make a joint. And it's actually quite tight actually. And then we bring that through into there. And so because it is a soft copper as well, when it comes to bending this stuff, it's actually quite simple. So we have some little bit of manual benders here. I got these the other day. So this is sort of my first little go on these. But yeah, if we need to make a bend on this, we can then just simply pull a little tiny bend, which is really easy to do. And then that's our little bend there, nice and straightforward. Not quite 90, is it? But really, really simple onto that. Pop that down. Or we do have the old-fashioned bending springs. Now, if you've got fittings that you've made up on the ends, then they won't actually work. So just on a bit of straight pipe there, pass it through, and then if we then just bend that, and what that does is that stops a super kink in the pipe because of the spring. Sometimes it's then a bit on the difficult side getting the spring off. So you'll do this before sort of swaging or flaring the ends, and that's then our little radius there, which is really straightforward. So if you've got a bit of a tight space, we're trying to get the mechanical bender in, will be too difficult with all the bending stuff, and you just get your hands in there, then you can just use a bending spring, nice and simple onto that there. So it's really important that the pipes are clean and the pipes are kept nice and flowing with the nitrogen as it comes through. Then after we've done that, we'll then pressurize the system, and we pressurize that with the nitrogen once again, and we pressurize that because it's got low moisture content inside the stored bottle, and we pressurize and then we check for leaks. So we hold that for an hour or two while we're doing some other bits and pieces. We've got that up to pressure and we're happy with that, and then we vac down. So all of these pipework is then sucked all the air out and the nitrogen out, and which draws out any moisture that's inside the pipework, and then we can then put the gas in, and then off it runs and off it all goes. So I just really want to show you, just see if I've missed any bits around here. So I just really wanted to do a quick video onto this and show you this air conditioning sort of jointing pipework that's a little bit different to the others. So thank you very much indeed. So yeah, it's been a great week here at Gaslec. We're really sort of pushing on with some bits and pieces, and we've got some new projects that are starting. Obviously, we're coming into holiday season now for all the staff members, so we're starting to get all that. We've had our new Kelly starter on, which has been great. She's doing really good work, really picking up the sort of the ethos. How we all work here, and the sort of the qualities of I can't think of the other word we use, but yeah, sort of the what's important here at Gaslec with our charity events that we're doing, giveaways. We've got the 36 kilos of sweets that we're giving away to the community events that are going on. We've had some picnic events that we've been sponsoring and supporting as well, which has all gone absolutely amazing, and some fantastic amounts of money being raised for the charities. Okay, guys, thank you very much indeed. If you've got any comments about the video, just leave them below and I'll get them answered. Not a problem at all. If you've got anything that you want me to cover, hopefully I can do some videos. We've got some more installations coming up where we can do some sort of on-site videos and stuff, which I'll put up onto the YouTube channel, so I can show you that as well, guys. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you on the next video. Goodbye.